need to point me where the bathroom? Okay. Well. I'll bury you the best I can. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. Fine. You know what? If you're gonna be that way, then you just go back to work. There you go. There's another store. I just came from the store. No. Bad. Oh, what did I get? The push and pull of strategy and horror, right? Because it's very difficult to have that kind of balancing act. Strategy is about empowering. It's about giving you a puzzle that you can get an answer for, and then you solve the riddle, so to speak, and then you feel smart. Like, you feel good. Horror is about disempowerment. Not that horror can't have moments of empowerment. In fact, I am very much in the mentality of it needs, horror in particular, needs good juxtaposition to be good. So it needs humor. It needs brevity, right? Because if it doesn't, the horror aspect gets you acclimate. Oh. Oh. They wanted that door closed. Alright. It's like, get out! Alright, we're just gonna go to lifeboats then. I mean, to be fair, it would be the one place you would want to go, but also that's the one place that everyone would go. So, oh boy.
How am I going to get down there?
Well, simple. We're gonna walk like this, and then I'm gonna hold the left trigger to hold. I can't. Are you sure I can't open? I wonder if we need to make the second leg. Because as of right now, we only have one leg showing. And in the example they used where it's like, oh, it's just a second leg, but I can't help but wonder if we should just have a second leg going. Because then what we could do, bear with me here, then what we could do is we can have, instead of it's just like standing like this, so this could be standing, this could just be idle standing pose, right? But when it comes to walking, we can have this leg go back, and then a second leg be right here, moving forward, and it's ready to go. Right? So almost like make a second one of these, except we just move the leg back just a little bit, and a foot forward. And I think if what's up, man? Can you give me directions? I'm kind of lost. Come on, like, you just need to point me where the bathroom. Okay. Well, I'll bury you the best I can. Come here. Come on. Come on. Come on. that way, then you can just go back to work. There you go. There's another store. I just came from the store. No. Bad. Oh, what did I get? The push and pull of strategy and horror, right? Because it's very difficult to have that kind of balancing act. Strategy is about empowering. It's about giving you a puzzle that you can get an answer for.
Blah, blah,
and
blah.
then you solve
Oop.
the riddle, so to speak, and then you feel smart.
I forgot you can hear me on the
You feel
transition.
good. Horror is about discipline.
I'll switch it over in 1 second.
Not that horror can't have moments of empowerment. In fact, I am very much in the mentality of it needs... Horror in particular needs good juxtaposition to be good. So it needs humor. It needs brevity, right? Because if it doesn't, the horror aspect gets you acclimate.
Hello, hello. How'd you like it? Yeah? You like it? Hello there. And welcome. Sorry I'm running a little bit late today. So usually I cook some like chicken or something, but for lunch. And I always forget how much longer it takes for like chicken that is like frozen to cook. So I'm like, 35 minutes, it'll be fine. And then I'm like, check the internal temperature and it's like 100 degrees. And I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna die if I eat this. So yeah. But I did make myself a little fruit shake, a little healthy shake. Which is spinach, frozen blueberries, bananas, frozen strawberries, and 2% milk. And I recently added yogurt to it to kind of like get a little bit extra protein to in it. Because I tried protein shake, and that was a disaster. So I'm not talking about the Harlem Shake. But no, I'm putting the protein shake is a horrible idea. I thought, because the one that I had was like banana bread. So I was like, oh, it'll give a little bit of a feel of banana bread, and it'll have like a little tinge of it along with it. You know, I already have banana in there. A little bread feels nice. No, it turned the entire shake into only banana bread, but with the texture of like fruit shake, and it was bad. Oh man, how you doing today, vibin'? Because I am much better today than I was yesterday. I don't know what was with yesterday. Good, I'm glad you're doing awesome. Yeah, I have no idea what was going on yesterday, but today I feel much better. I don't know if I just need the rest or what, but I feel much more normal. My energy's back to normal, and my head's clear. So that's why I was like, we're going to do game dev. We're going to do it on a good day. Yeah. You don't ever have to ask me if I want to see it. Show it. Bonfire. Yes. Alright. Send it in the Discord. I want to see it. Ooh. Okay. So you gave him a mullet. Okay. What else did you do? Let's see here. Looks like you... Oh, this is the change of the face that you were talking about from that you posted earlier, right? Is it? Let's see. Hold on. Let me... There we go. So, yeah, this is the one that you posted before. And then this is it. You also had the eye a little askew. I love that little detail. Can I open the browser? Can I then zoom in? Yeah, here we go. I could tell that like it has more of a lip now, which is really cool. Did you also mess with the bow tie? The bow tie looks about normal. Check the new foot. Oh yeah! Showing feet on stream? I think that's against TOS. I don't think Twitch is the right place for showing this kind of stuff. I like it. I like where it's going. I'm excited to see what you do with it. And it's like you kind of gave him a little bit of a mullet too. You kind of changed the hair up a little bit. Make it a little more narrower. Nice. No, you're doing great, my guy. You are doing great. I continue to look forward to what happened? What happened? Where did everybody go? I switched the Discord over to the other screen and it's just like, did you hit minimize everything? No. No, I didn't, computer. Country Fredbear when I finish him. Oh, no, Fred Fear. Sorry. Fred Fear, not Bear. I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to all of them. I think you're doing a great job. Are you also going to do the animations yourself? / do you know how to do animations? Ooh. I'm excited. Animation is also one of those things that I dip my toe in and I really like, but I haven't like gone full on into it. Oh, that's awesome. What did you end up working on? Was it like for school, or was it for like a personal project, or was it for like a certification? While we're talking about that, let's also kind of dive a little bit into this as well. So the last thing that we did, I'll actually switch to display capture for right now. Dangerous it may be. But it's the only way. No, I mean, I started like 9 months making a few animations, making it even better. Oh, awesome. That is great. I'm glad you have that kind of experience already doing it. So this is even an opportunity to even grow even more. So we have all the 3 of these now moving in a particular direction. As far as where we are trying to get it to go, we haven't been able to manipulate that quite yet. And they also interact with each other. So that is something that we have to look into. The buy to 24? I'm just surprised you're still alive after stealing his pizza. That's all I'm saying. Alright. So, when it comes to the resources here, actually, you know what? We don't need that. Your leg is gone? No, you didn't need it anyway. You don't need your leg to make good 3D models. Technically, if you're good enough with 3D models and you got a 3D printer, you could just make yourself a new leg. Boom. No problem. Or the next time you see Freddy, just take his leg. Eye for an eye, leg for a leg. So, the move target position, the target positions, vector 2 equals 0, input, move target position, set movement target, print move to the spot. This does not work. Let's see. Okay, we did get the click. Okay. Funny thing, I took his hat in his hand and started sprinting myself out. What are you going to do with his hand? Are you going to wear it as your new leg? Oh, so the red dot no longer shows anymore. Yeah, I want to make the resources not interact with each other. I want the overlap. Make a new friendly Freddy. Freddy, Fred, share. I'm trying to think of what the cuddly version of Fredbear would be. So we're able to move, and then it stops paying attention for a while, which is fine. Well, it's not fine, but it's okay. Something tells me it's because they... Yeah. Actually, I don't know why they stopped. Anyway, so we now have the ability to move to a selected area. So now we need to come up with a decision, because there's a couple ways that we can need to go about it. And I know we mentioned it before, but we need to decide how the player will make the decision to move things and how the player will then send it to that location. We're talking about Fredbear and Freddy because Fredbear from Fazbear Pizza and Freddy is from Five Nights at Freddy's. Am I mixing it up? I might be thinking of Fredbear, the Fazbear Pizza. Yeah. Listen, there's so many now that I'm mixing it. They're intertwining. They're becoming a universe in of itself where everything is linked together. I thought Golden Freddy was yellow. I guess you could say he's gold, but like, what's the real difference really between yellow and gold? All right, let's see. Freddy versus Fredbear. Fredbear is Golden Freddy. Oh. Oh. It's just a shiny version. I'm looking like a side-by-side. It's what, Fredbear and Freddy textures? Let's see. Yeah. Something tells me that this is not correct. I did Freddy versus... That's Golden Freddy. You ever did Freddy and Fredbear? Seen in this jump scare, Fredbear seems to be an edited model of Freddy Fazbear, as his arms and torso and ears and muzzles are nearly identical. So that's Fredbear. Early iteration, Freddy Fazbear from the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, and the first known animatronic made by Henry Emily. Fredbear's appearance, Golden Freddy. Curiously, his own original eyes replaced by Phantom-esque tiny glowing dots, which I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of the dots, gotta say. Compared to Freddy Fazbear, Fredbear has a different model shape. His ears are smaller, rounder, and less pointy. His top half is smaller and his smaller eyebrows. His whiskers are placed in different positions. He's slightly chubbier, has a different head shape, and slightly smaller jaw. So literally, it is like a shiny version. Okay, all right. So he's a little different. There's a bit of a difference here. All right. Okay. No. This is Fredbear. I have not. Where is this? What is this? Why does it look like it comes from Roblox? I don't remember seeing this version. Fredbear's Family Diner. Okay. Okay. Wait. The movie? This is what I mean. Fredbear's Family Diner. Fredbear's Family Diner. Oh, episode. Is it episode? It's a mini series. Excuse me. Why is it a mini? There was a... I'm so confused. It's a mini series. Okay. Okay. Oh! Oh, no, I have seen this one. Yeah. It was so good. But it was so good, though. I remember this. Yeah. Where are the images in this? Yeah, I remember this little short here. I thought the animation was excellent, but I still don't remember, like, what you showed me. I'm also not seeing it anywhere in here. Maybe here? No, that's a mod in Minecraft. Yeah. Okay. Alright, we're getting sidetracked. We're getting majorly sidetracked. Granted, I do like talking about Freddy. it very much awakened or put a strong spotlight on that kind of type of horror, and I love it. Horror. All right. So we need to decide how we're gonna make this kind of interaction, because there's a couple of ways that we can go about it. Let's open up our handy dandy Excel sheet for last call. Especially with the idea of accessibility, right? So, last call. Why are you way over there? And then they'll just like bap bap. There you go. So, you know, there's a lot of accessibility things, but we'll keep that in mind for now. We'll add a new one. This one will be interaction. So for interaction, we have a couple of options, right? The first is just click on the house. That has some implications though. By clicking on the house, you need to know... Actually, you know what? Let's do the other way around. We'll do interactions is up here. And then the implications are down here. So, under clicking on the house, you need to know where the house is located, which means that you need to be given that information, or at some point, right? You need to be able to know where the houses are, which means on top of identifying if the person on the other side is real or not, but you also then need to remember the house of the phone call that came in. We could just kind of cheat that out and be like, oh, this is a phone call from this house, right? Where it just tells you. But also it's kind of like, well, why would you then ask where they live, right? And we could go about it in a way of like, that's part of the process where someone calls, they say, help, I'm being attacked. You have their name, but maybe not their address. So then you look up in like the yellow pages or some shit. Because again, this is kind of based in like 90s, early 2000s like vibe, where it's like, the technology is there, but it's not as it is now. Like there isn't auto tracking, there's no like AI, there's no any of that shit, right? Or at least publicly available. And so I don't know. And then you have problems potentially with accessibility. Accessibility issues where clicking on a specific object is problematic, right? So in order to know it doesn't feel quite right. It doesn't feel nah. We're moving it back. And we'll just do this. I know how that's not how you spell accessibility. Don't make fun of me. even though it's literally on the bottom of the screen. There you go. Boom. Excel doesn't have a way for to auto-correct it. So things are just not going to get spelled right, and you're going to have to deal with it. So clicking on the house has its potential issues, but also is simplest, where it's just like you just click on it. And it is also like you click on the, like, how do we want to select the resources that needs to be gathered, right? So we're already doing the interaction as far as how to move it, but we also need to discuss our interaction of how we select the resources need to be sent. And I think you would want them to be comparative. Like if I have selection off of sending the resources over to the house, as you just click on the house, then you would probably wouldn't want selecting the resources from a menu. You would want to also click those resources. Let's see. So we have click on the house. There is auto sent. There is select from menu. So within the call, there will be like a menu to like send help or something, right? Where you're like, cool, well, like police are on their way, or hospitals are on, or ambulances on the way. So there is it's more simplistic. It's a little less, what's the word I'm looking for? Digestible isn't the right word I want to use. What's it called? It's where the game's menus are based in in-game assets, I think is the name of it. What was it called? Diegetic, maybe? Occurring within the context of the story and able to heard by the characters. There's an interior view of which his narrative presents his actions. No, diegetic isn't right. I can't think of it. A little less. I'm going to put diegetic. I know it's not the right word. But at least I'll understand what the hell I'm trying to talk about. Basically, having a menu pop up versus just something that's a lot more like in-game. I mean, granted, the menu will be in the computer, but I mean, I don't really know how do emergency responders send help? Do they press a button? Let's Google that. Like, hold on. How does, let's see. Ooh. How does emergency contraception, that is not the word I'm looking for. Emergency operators send help. Ask the caller about the emergency, assigns it a priority. While questioning the caller, the operator sends information via computer to a police or fire dispatcher. But how? The operator confirms that information. It's like they'll If the call is from a non-cellular phone, the caller's name, address, and telephone number appear on the computer screen. So they do appear on the screen. Here, I'll make it bigger for y'all. A 911 operator receives the call. The call is from a non-cellular phone, which all these will be. This is a period of time for the cell phone era, but I mean, there will be, I think, some teenagers who will do it, but I think most of the calls that will come in are through landlines. They're from home phones. The caller's name, address, and telephone number appear on the computer screen. Okay, so we can have it auto appear when they call. So we don't need to ask them who. This is about the game that we're working on. It's an emergency operator. But so I'm trying to figure out, well, it's an emergency operator horror game. But this, we're trying to figure out like how we want the interaction to be, and we want it to be more, for the lack of a better word, a diegetic. So I was thinking like, well, how do 911 operators usually give that information to the emergency personnel? Because depending on how the way they do it in real life, if we take that, we might be able to play with it or just use that straight up and be like, cool, this makes sense. We could just have this good to go. And we're seeing here that if it's from a non-cellular phone, in which I will say most of the calls that we will receive is going to be from a home phone, not non-cellular. I think the exception being from like the abandoned building area where the teenagers will call. Then it will probably be cell phone because there probably wouldn't be any landlines in that area. But it seems that the caller's name, address, and telephone number appear on the computer screen, meaning that that is information that is automatically given to the player, not something that they have to figure out on their own. And then the 911 operator confirms the information, asks the caller about the emergency, and assigns it a priority. Plus, it also gives a little bit of Not My Neighbor vibes, in the sense of confirming the information that is automatically given to us versus what they say is what they are. Granted, this game is not about necessarily only about the information that is given, but having that be something that is also in the pot, I don't think would add a lot more complexity, but would allow a good amount more depth as far as that being an option for people to recognize that they are not who they say they are. While questioning the caller, the operator sends the information via computer to a police dispatcher. The dispatcher receives the information about the emergency and confirms the priority rating assigned by the 911 operator. In Mesa, the highest priority is E. E is for life-threatening situations. The lowest priority is 5. It's for report calls. The police vehicles are equipped with global positioning GPS technology. Their locations are transmitted to the dispatch and 911 computers every 30 seconds. Transmitted. Interesting. So what they could potentially do is a little bit of a mixture, right? On one end, because originally I was going to be like, you're going to be in complete control of these police cars and other, vehicles. Where you click on the vehicle, you have the resources on the bottom right. It's kind of like an overlay that kind of show what you have available. And then you send that, and then you click on what you're going to send, and then you click the location, and then all those guys get sent. But what if instead it's a confirmation of their address, their location, and what determines what is sent versus not sent is the priorities that you tell them. Like in this case, it would be E, which I'm assuming it goes 1, 2, 3. It goes E 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm assuming. We can look that up though, because I think that would also be kind of interesting. So depending on what we tell them, it's like, oh, we think this is a mimic situation, then that means there is a special code, or at least a higher risk code, that will give them enough time, or that they know the resources needs to be allocated accordingly. Interesting. And then they are just sent on their way. What I would like to see, though, because this is another thing that I was thinking about, is how do we want sending resources to feel, and how do we want to represent that? Because what I want it to feel, I want it to feel tense. I want it to feel like you're not, because you don't know if you did the right thing until they arrive. So a part of me wants it, like, after you send the dispatch, that you follow them. Like the camera follows their movements until they reach the destination, and then you get to hear what they are going through when they arrive. Right? But then we also have to come across where it's like, well, how many calls do we want them to be receiving? Because if they're going to be following for the first dispatch, if we want a more chaotic income of calls from everyone freaking out, following and then answering the calls don't make a lot of sense, because as soon as you send the next dispatch, your camera will be moving the new one, and you didn't even get to finish where the old one landed, right? So we kind of have to think this through as far as how we want to put this together, so that we allow eventually we want it chaotic, but we want it chaotic of, you need to help as many people as you can, and then you just don't have the resources to properly address it, until eventually you are completely overwhelmed, you start losing people, you start losing resources because you're panicking and making wrong decisions, until eventually you don't have any more resources and they finish taking over everything and you lose the game, right? So that's something that we need to, I think would be beneficial for us to think about now, while we have, because we can now move our resources. Going down the route of figuring out how to properly, like, go where I say click, or have it auto generate, or have all that kind of stuff. I think figuring this out now and not wasting the resources to try to do like it all and then try it out, I think is beneficial. Though a part of me does kind of want to do like a very rough, just a few hours of figuring out like each of them and then trying it out and see how it feels, where it's a lot less of trying to figure out preemptively and a lot more of just try it and just see how it feels. Like, does it feel good? Does it feel does it give the emotion that you're trying to imbue, right? But one thing at a time. Police vehicles are equipped with that. 30 seconds. Location information transmitted to laptops. Each unit represented by an icon shows the computer much like a tiny game piece. Police cars, bicycles, helicopters, K9 are represented. The icons change color based on their status. That's kind of cool. And that makes a lot of sense. So it's like, if they're free, if they're available, they're one color. Then they switch color when they're en route. They switch to a different color when they arrive. And then they switch to a final color when they are no longer available. That's not bad. Let's write that down, actually. There was a demo, things to keep an eye on. Map brainstorm. No, let's just put it in here. When making... Oh. Make different colors for conditions of resources. And the different resources is available, on route, arrived, not available. Those are the 4. Alright, when police units respond to emergency, the address of the caller is displayed on the computer. The computer suggests the nearest vehicle. The dispatcher, who can override the suggestion or go with it, assigns the call with a click of the mouse. The police unit receiving a call will see the address. With a touch of the screen, the officer will call up a map. Because the house numbers generally are useless from the air, helicopters can use the system to get information on how many houses from the corner an address is. Really? That's interesting. When the emergency is taken care of, the police can clear the scene via laptop. Vehicle icon turns dark blue on the map and the unit available for new calls. Interesting. Priority rating? Priority rating. Call priority definitions. It looks, at least at this one. Priority 1, life-threatening. 2, immediate response in an immediate or substantial risk of major injury. 3 is crimes in progress that require immediate response but present no significant threats. Request police to do which do not require an immediate response but exists a likelihood. Officer initiated activity from the field. Calls relate to public works, relate to traffic enforcement, community services, etc. Okay. So typically here, first come, first serve. We have 4 ambulances in the area. Take new incidents. We'll finish our current assignment as quickly as possible and take the next event. Split our resources. We have known for divert some personnel from one scene towards the other. We've seen some. Call in support from another jurisdiction in which we had a mutual aid agreement. My 3rd year, so basically... no. Let's see here. No. We might just make up our own, to be honest. How to talk to an emergency dispatch. What point to actually send contacts? It's the name question. You've been bleeding out, running. Who's chasing you? So another may be dispatching units. Dispatch units. Maintains contact with units in the field and coordinates the response specialty. Yeah, that's... Once a call is received by dispatch, there's an equipment designed to alert and dispatch the appropriate agency units in response to a specific emergency or situation. Most centers have 2-way wireless radio systems connecting themselves, various agencies, and individual firefighters. 2-way radio systems. We could potentially play with that. Okay. Because let's think about it, right? Let's think about it. If because before it was a lot more active where it's like, oh, you have to keep track of them. What if instead of you keeping track that they've arrived, what if it's just over the radio that you can hear? What if it's out of your control? What if you're nervous about it, but it's no longer in your hands. You've made the strategic decision to send the appropriate resources to a location. With bated breath, you make that decision. And then you await the results of your decision. Because I mentioned before, as far as when we were talking about accessibility, it's like, what if you accidentally click the wrong button, right? Because that sucks. Like, do you have the option to send more? And I said yes. I think you, as long, like, the decision isn't final until they get to the location. If they get to the location, then whatever you decided is there. But if it's en route, I think you can send reinforcements. If you make the wrong decision, you can split the resources if you feel like you kind of overestimated it. Like, I definitely wanted to have more agency of, like, if you hit the wrong button, there's a way to kind of go around it. Or if there is other information that is brought to your attention that may have changed your decision, you could still do that. Especially in the beginning. Is it going to be the entire route? Maybe. Maybe it'll instead be like a third of the way there, or like halfway there, or something. Then after that point, it's like the reinforcements will not arrive in time, right? But instead of just following and then watching the map of them getting to that location, instead having a two-way radio that just automatically starts when they arrive and you get to hear what happens, I think is really interesting. Because you get to hear what happens. You get to hear the consequences of your actions. And I want people to be attached to these resources. I want them to know and like and want the greatest good for the people that they're sending in. These are not going to be nameless, faceless chess pieces and pawns for people to sacrifice. These are real people who have characterization applied to them. Like, you care about their well-being, and I want the player to care about their well-being and lose them. In how to move on beyond that, and how to try to make a decision based around the idea of sending people potentially to their deaths to help prevent other people from their deaths. And eventually, who to prioritize. Whose lives will you choose to save? Because eventually that's what's going to come to. It's good. This is a game about attrition. This is a game without a win condition. It is literally just a battle of an uphill. It's an uphill battle. It is, Sisyphus's trial. Is it Sisyphus? It is pushing the boulder up the hill, but it will never be on the top. The point of this game is trying to last as long as possible. How long can you fight against them? And can you do better? But having a two-way radio allows you to hear the results of it. But another reason why I liked it so much is because I imagined when it got chaotic, When you are sending multiple people out and they're arriving in different homes at different times, I want it to kind of overlap a bit. I want the radio, you get to hear them talk, and they try to talk over each other, and they you know, they're in different frequencies, where it's like, you, no matter where you turn, and then it gets like the sound design adds to the chaotic nature of all these people are being sent out to try to prevent this. They're all talking, and then also there are calls coming in. It's going to be overwhelming. Which comes to accessibility, right? One of the things about accessibility is overstimulation. One thing to consider. Do we want to have a way to prevent the overstimulation? I don't see why not. We couldn't add like a mode, because again, all the extra accessibility options that we do plan on adding, for the most part, are going to be like, we'll have the warning of like, hey, just a heads up, you turning this on isn't necessarily the natural flow of what we want the game to be designed to be. And because of that, like, it's not going to flow right. It's not going to be as tense, it's not going to be as scary, it's not going to be as overwhelming, but you could still get to play the game the way that you can, and still, like, maybe, let's say there's somebody, right, who likes horror games but gets overwhelmed by audio really quickly, right? They get overstimulated, their brain starts frying a bit, and they're just like, no, I need to cut it off. Like, I'm like borderline causing a panic attack, right? And it's like, but they really liked the figuring things out and trying to find the little details. They liked the investigative part of the game, but they didn't really like the pressure that was applied to the player. I don't see it like a particular reason why we can't just make it so it's like you can maybe the setting of an overstimulation setting would be one person at a time. You get one call at a time. You get one call, you send your backup, that decision happens, boom. And then you do the same thing, and then after that decision has been completely done, then the next call comes in. It doesn't pile on you, right? But that also means that, you know, you're going to last longer. So it shouldn't count as far as the comparison. So let's actually go accessibility. We'll do one possibilities. For overstimulation, make it so that make an option to allow only one call/decision at a time, and not and significantly reduce the overwhelm when the game starts picking up, right? So I honestly like that. So over here we'll also do like two-way radio that the players can hear the results of their decisions. Will, once multiple multiple vehicle resources are dispatched. The feedback will overlap, giving the feeling of chaos and disorder. Like, cause imagine like you're trying to send as many people as possible and calls are coming in and you're trying to send them out, and then the radio is going about the people dying on the other end and they're trying to figure things out, and they're like there's so much going on. It's gonna be a lot. But that's the point. The point is that it's a lot. The point is that it's overwhelming you. Right? And you need to make sure we want to make sure that we have the option to kind of like, if it's a bit too much for the player, they can dial it back a bit. Maybe we can have I don't know if we should put in a detection being like, oh, if they quit the game during a particular tense time, that we could be like, hey, you could turn this off in accessibility, just a heads up, right? Or should the accessibility options be the first thing that you see when you go into the game? I personally think it should be the first thing you see. And maybe we'll add in, if you quit when it gets tough, it's like, hey, you can, if you're feeling overwhelmed, there's an option to make it less overwhelming, right? Okay, interesting. Two-way wireless radio. Emergency is mainly applied to the on-site dispatching and assignment of emergency incident events. Okay. So there's actually a system named it. So we have a dispatch system. We have terminals in different bays. Emergency dispatch is mainly applied to on-site dispatching and assignment of emergency and incident events such as mid to small scale local security, stability maintaining, emergency handling, and rescuing tasks, which can help our customers field an efficient on-site dispatching. Monitor for the online-offline status. For dispatching, flexible dispatching methods, call history messages, high, efficient, and easy to use. Okay, this is just them trying to sell something. This emergency medical, emergency operations center. Management, operations, logistics, policy group. No, this isn't it. Use equipment designed to alert and dispatch appropriate agents. So it's basically, there's computer aided. Let's see here. Dispatch centers, the first to first responders. Okay. Quite literally, the dispatch center is the first of the first responders. Okay, we can kind of see what they see. Gosh. Part of me wants to be like, hey, can I take a tour for... I want to make a horror game. Can you imagine calling a dispatch center being like, hey, I'm making a horror game. But I feel like I don't know nearly enough about what y'all do. Would it be a good... is it all right if like you kind of show me around and what is it that y'all interact with on a day-to-day? Like how are things usually done that way? That feels one, embarrassing. Two, it's just like, my guy, do you think we got time to have tours of the facility? You think we're just kind of sitting back? Like, what are you talking about? Let's see. An entire emergency communication system is outlined. Further, the system equipment procedures associated with the various communication systems are outlined, blah, blah, blah. 4 basic types of communication centers. We have standalone centers utilized by one specific fire department. A regional center which serves many fire departments. Co-located center shares a space with other public safety agencies such as law enforcement and EMS. And an integrated center has all center personnel cross-trained in providing services for multiple agencies. So we are probably going to have, this is probably going to be considered an integrated center. Let's go ahead and write that in here. What we are is considered an integrated center. The size of the communication center depends on the area and the agencies served, as well as the information needs of those organizations connected to it. Because this is an emergency center of a small town, right? It is a way for us to be able to be, it's like, okay, so there's like, okay, there's a handful of people because it's a small town with a small population, so there needs to be a center for it, right? But it's only run by like a handful of people, but they're cross-trained in everything, so they don't need the multiple groups, right? Let's see if y'all, I'm getting a lot of notifications on my Discord. I'm like, what? Why? Don't do that, Outlook. All right, bet. Regardless of the type, all comm centers must provide certain operational services. They must be able to receive emergency and non-emergency calls from various communication systems and be able to record the contacts. In addition, comm centers must have quick access to relevant agencies, organizations, businesses, and private entities needed to timely for response. Comm centers can use signal repeater, radio channels, commercial telephone lines, and computer contacts for essential and non-essential communications. To talk with that. What was that? What? Oh, that was you posting in Discord. Gotcha. There was a weird sound. I was like, ba-ding, and I'm like, what? Along with the face, this knows everything. I like the face. The face looks good. I'm liking it. I like the nose. I like what you've done with it. Online computer essential, talk to civilians. Essential communication, talk to civilians, activate response capability, monitor field units, and coordinate and prioritize all movements within their purview. Newer agency models contain activities such as CPR and first aid instructions, as well as addressing individual issues such as water line breaks, power outages, weather, and traffic information. Whether trained or specific type of personnel working in multiple organizations, personnel working in communication centers called dispatchers must be highly skilled, able to blah 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 blah. Further, dispatchers accomplice equipment operators. Dispatchers expedite all communication procedures that activate first responders after alarm initiation. Fred Fear. The dispatcher's greatest asset is revealed in their ability to talk to civilians under extreme and highly stressful conditions while obtaining the appropriate information to initiate an effective response. Eventually, we will have to come across how we want the main character to respond to these calls. I know in other operator games, they made it so that it's like you click, it's like a not choose your own adventure, but like RPG-esque, you choose how you respond to the call. And I don't know how, I don't know if we're going to go down that route. That feels like not what this game is about. But we'll come to that later. When we go into writing the script for everything, that's when we kind of come across that particular aspect of like, hey, how do we want the main character to be interacting with these people? Dispatchers expedite all communications, activate first after alarm initiation. Dispatchers' great asset is revealed in their ability to talk to, blah, blah, blah. Dispatchers must be professional and non-judgmental in the course of interacting with the public. They need to handle a variety of calls and requests and know how to refer, blah, blah, blah. Communication centers are built in many configurations depending on the needs of the area and agency served. Communication centers must be built in an environmentally stable location while protected against threats and completely secured, including limited windows and monitored entrances. Yep. Which is why it's honestly one of the benefits of doing it this way, because the building we're going to make for, this person going to sit in, there's not going to be windows. It's gonna be a square. It's gonna be a box. It's gonna be a box with a bunch of computers, and there's like one entrance and one exit, right? Which is very good to design as someone who has not really designed a location nearly like at all. The communication center must have an automatic backup power and resources for extended operational periods. So one of the things we did mention before is maybe an option or a period of time where the power goes out. Like the town's power goes out. Like it was being sabotaged by these mimics. And I'm still wishy-washy with it. But at least we have confirmation like they are pretty much required by law to have backup power. So okay. Actually, where is this? Because I imagine different countries have different rules. We're just going to move forward like this is just the law of the world for right now. Most communication centers are equipped with commercial phone system, direct lines, and dedicated 911 phones. You can model for me? I'm trying to think what I would need modeled. Because a lot of the things that I have going on are going to be sprites. Most of the effort's going to be more audio. The most I think I'm going to have like 3D models for are like people in the background, but I was planning on that being very not like very minimalistic, because it's just going to be like there's going to be light against the wall, maybe like a projector, and then you can see the shadows of people walking around. So I very much appreciate it. I love your stuff, but I don't think I need it for this particular game. Plus, I'd want to pay you. And I would have to figure out how to properly go about paying someone for their work. So, well, I'm going to say not for this project, but I am definitely going to need 3D models for future projects. So I'll definitely keep you in mind. I'm just trying to think, because we don't get to see the creatures. I made that as a specific choice because I want people to think. It's free. I appreciate it. I very much appreciate it, but I am a person that if you do work, you deserve to get paid for it. If you are doing work for me, then I am going to compensate you. I'm assuming you're going to make me. It's my values of who I am mean that I need to compensate anyone who then makes anything for me, because that is a product, right? That is a service that you are providing in which you should be compensated appropriately. There should be no free. You should be compensated appropriately. So I would need to figure out the legal applications of being able to go about that in the correct way while providing the necessary compensation and then receiving the product. So it is nothing to do with that. That's what I'm assuming. It is very much of just like, I don't want people to not be compensated for the work because that they put in, because a lot of times that kind of re-emphasizes a lot of mentalities that people have where it's like, oh, I'm not good enough to get paid for this yet. And that's 100% not true. Everyone, if you're putting in work, you deserve to be compensated. Period. So, nothing to do with you, my guy. Very much on my side of stuff. No worries though. And honestly, thank you for the offer. I'm loving the work that you're putting out. So like, I would take you up. Let's see. Most centers have two-way wireless radios. Radio systems connecting themselves, various agencies, and individual firefighters. Note, due to their accessible transmissions by the public and media, two-way radio should never be used by firefighters to communicate a message that may embarrass or bring liability to their fire departments. What does that mean? Hold up. Why is that in there? Due to their accessible transmissions by the public and media, two-way radio should never be used by firefighters to communicate a message that may embarrass or bring liability to their fire departments. Why is that in there? Who snitched? Who said something they were not supposed to speak about over a public radio that embarrassed an entire fire truck? What did they do? That they were just like, listen, no other people can hear it, so no talking about what you did last night, you know? Oh my gosh. All right. Bet. I would love to be a fly on that wall. Computer aided dispatch. Computers are incorporated into communication centers to handle increased call volume. Like this part here. Yeah. Who did it? It's like, John, you're on a two-way radio. And like, there's like, I don't know if you had grandparents that listened to like the two-way radio. Stitches get stitches and get buried in ditches. But like, I had grandparents who like listened religiously to the emergency two-way radio broadcasts. So just imagining just like Derek from as a fire truck being like, yeah, no, like I met this girl last night and we were going like super into detail, and like all these older people are just like staring at their radio. Like jaw drop listening to what is essentially porn. And like then like the head person is just like, Derek, get off the fucking radio. Oh man, that would be so funny. Oh man. Anyway, moving on. Computer aided dispatch. So thinking about this before I even read into it, you only got one? As in right now you only got one, or period you only have one? And I'm sorry for your loss. Personally, I have zero. My last grandparent left 3 years ago? 2 or 3 years back? My first grandparent was, I never really get to know her. It was my grandmother on my dad's side. Well, I hope you, value the time that you have together. But, yeah, my grandmother on my dad's side, I never got to really know her because she died when I was like 6 months old, I think. She never got to meet my brother, but she died from aortic aneurysm. And for those that don't know, aortic aneurysm is when the aorta of the heart, which is a very important, valve, is thinned, so air got in and then it went to her brain and she died in her sleep. And like from what I heard, I would have loved my grandmother on my dad's side, which I don't doubt. And then let's see, my dad on my dad's side, he ended up getting run over by a car in the parking lot. There was a older woman who was backing up and didn't see him, and also didn't feel running him over, so she just kept going. That whole side of the family wanted to sue her to oblivion, but my grandfather convinced them to be like, she's suffering enough. She already feels bad enough that would happen. So he died from that. But my grandparents on my mom's side, they died from just poor habits and being old. I wasn't really close, but to be honest, like I'm not close to my extended family really. I grew up pretty far from them, so it's not like I had a childhood full of it. And they have particular stances that I do not stand very well. My dad's side, I never met my grandpa or my grandma. On my mother's side, I only got my grandpa, but one is in, well, I think you say that when they have this mental health. Oh, I'm really sorry, Vibing. Well, I am sorry for your loss. That is all that I will say with it. And I hope that you will, value for the connections that you do have. Anyway, so enough about this. Enough about the sad talk of dead family members. We're talking about computers here. Anyway, not the best transition. But before I read into it, I think it would be kind of interesting if it's the time period for this is the first application of computer aided dispatch, where it's like they just started doing it, so it's really finicky, it's kind of buggy, they don't things aren't as efficient as they should be and can be. It's the classic, this will make our jobs easier, but hasn't put in the proper time to test and fix all the issues that come with bringing in an entirely new system. That could be really beneficial. I mean, I think that would be kind of an extra thing that we can kind of play with, where the computer isn't very good. Because we're already running 90s white brick computers. When I'm putting the computers up in my brain, it's not mid 90s dial-up level, but it's this is a computer that is so old, and we have refused to upgrade our stuff. That's the kind of thing. Because I don't know if y'all ever worked at a job that utilizes technology, but there is a certain level, especially in government, where they just won't upgrade their shit. I worked with machines as old as I am, and I'm ancient. All right, just being guys, why are you running with this thing that's a decade old? What are you talking about? Why is this? No wonder we're having issues. You haven't updated the software in 4 years. What the hell are you doing? So I kind of want to play with that a little bit, where it's it's not this is a white brick computer with dial-up and it's brand spanking new. It's no, this is a white brick computer that's a decade old and they just haven't upgraded. So let's add that to this, where it's add kind of like lore. Recently integrated computer, what was it? Computer assisted something? Computer aided dispatch. Dispatch. Utilizing old tech. Not very streamlined. Yeah. All right, computers are incorporated into communication centers to handle increased call volume, create and store records, analyze data, and provide remote locations with information. This is called a computer-aided dispatch. Some systems can select and dispatch units automatically while determining the quickest route to the scene. They can monitor unit status and display and relay the information as needed. Some CAD systems can track vehicles using GPS and automatic vehicle locating. Actually, this sounds exactly what we're doing. This sounds exactly what we're doing already. Computer information can be transmitted directly to fire stations or apparatus computers. Voice I can speak. All voice recorders and activity logs. All activities in communications center? In a communication center, okay, are recorded either by voice recording or by documentation. This allows for an accurate account of all incidents and situations for use in defending response actions or providing proof of responsible actions or emergency personnel. Having an accurate record, before I continue, being able to write and record important information while also listening to said information is a skill I don't think I will ever have. It's so hard to write and listen at the same time for me. Unless it's verbatim, and first of all, I don't type that quickly. And heaven forbid if I write it. If I write it, there's no chance in hell. But like doing meeting minutes and meetings and shit like that, just, oh my gosh, it's too much. It's too much. My brain gets overwhelmed. I cannot do both. And I've tried to make meeting minutes for our Sunday streams, because our Sunday streams is kind of like a checkup with the community. It's essentially the meeting between y'all and me, except the meeting doesn't suck. Like, that's the way I kind of view it. So I was like, ooh, meeting minutes, that's even more perfect. And I haven't done it in like 3 months. I stopped because I couldn't, man. Like, to stop what I'm doing, like, I have to stop my train of thought to then write it down and then come back to the train of thought. That's so... I hate it. And I think that's why they have, like, a meeting minutes person. So it's just like, their job isn't to talk at all. Their job is to just write it down. And that's easier than trying to talk and then also write it down, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. Having an accurate record of center proceedings provides an ongoing review of all department operations, allowing for continuing on with blah blah blah. These systems are invaluable when faced with excited callers, hang-ups, or a foreign language speaker, as calls can be instantly played back for review. An integrated report and records management is shared by all organizations and is serviced by Comm Center. These systems are in groups together, convey a task-related information. So we already talked about adding a playback system, because that was one of the things with accessibility, where people will sometimes forget what has happened so far. And especially if you're trying to track things. I know we talked about tracking as far as just using symbols and being able to just apply those symbols to those houses, of like flagging and then adding notes and things like that, which I still believe which is something we should look into. But I think adding to that would be, I think, beneficial of allowing voice playback of what has happened. in the past. So let's see here. Playback of audio logs of what has happened to help the player keep track of progress. Dispatch center plays a significant role. If all communications, then dispatches are the heart and soul. Most firefighters agree that communication plays an important role. It can be argued that communication is the critical element in determining successful outcome of any emergency. Okay. Let's look more to detail with computer-aided dispatch. Computer-aided dispatch. Save 2 to 3 minutes per dispatch with the most accurate recommendation capabilities. Can I just get it? Can I just take a look at it and be like, hey, what does y'all's look like? Public sector software. You're dedicated to serving your community. So we're leading public sector cloud. It's like there's like a little boops, but that's much more recent. We won't copy that kind of interaction. Real-time access anywhere. Resources, blog, recorded webinars. Interesting. CAD today's safety agencies. We'll request a demo. Should we? They're like, hey, what is this for? And I'm like, for a game I'm making. Immediately get hung up. A lot of these are going to be more recent. Here we go. I was going to say, where's the Wikipedia? I need Wikipedia. It's called the Computer Assisted Dispatch Method for dispatching taxi cabs, couriers, field service agencies, or agencies. I think it combined technicians with assisted and then made up a word. Mass transit vehicles or emergency services assisted by computer. It can be either tend to send messages on the dispatch via mobile data terminal and or used to store and retrieve data. The dispatcher may announce the calls, details, field units, two-way radio. I think I was reading and not absorbing. Sorry. It could be used to send messages to the dispatch via mobile data terminal or used to store and retrieve data. Radio logs, field reviews, client information, schedulers, etc. Okay, pretty much what we talked about before, where there's going to be past, recordings. So we need a way to save or have I mean, the game already says it, so it's like just a stored area where it's just kind of like an archive, right? The dispatcher may announce the call details to a field units over a 2-day radio. Some systems communicate using a 2-radio system selective calling features. A conventional analog 2-way radio system, a standard radio has noise squelch. Hey, what's noise squelch? What's squelch? Why is that an official term? Isn't squelch what was it? Onomatopoeia? Where it's a word describing a sound. It's not an actual word. What? A radio to receive all transmissions. Standard radio has noise squelch or carrier squelch, which allows a radio to receive all transmissions. Selective calling is used to address a subset of all 2-way radios in a single radio frequency channel. We're going down the rabbit hole, boys. Let's go. Conventional noise squelch or carrier squelch. In telecommunications, squelch is a circuit function that acts as to suppress the audio output of a receiver in the absence of a strong input signal. My brain is starting to squelch. Essentially, squelch is a specialized type of noise gate designed to suppress weak signals. It's used in two-way radios and radio scanners. Okay. So basically, it's a way to select which ones come through, which allows a radio to receive all transmissions. Selective calling is used to blah, blah, blah. Where more than one user is on the same channel, selective calling can address a subset of all receivers or can direct a call to a single radio. Selective calling features fit into two major categories: individual calling and group calling. Individual calls generally have longer time constraints. It takes more airtime to call an individual radio unit than call a large group of radios. Selective calling is akin to the use of a lock on a door. A radio with a carrier squelch is unlocked and will let any signal in. A selective calling locks out all signals except the ones with the correct key. In the case of specific digital code, selective calling systems can overlap. A radio may have a group call and a DTMF, a dual tone multi-frequency signaling. Bro, we're in it. It's a telecommunication signaling system using the voice frequency band over telephone lines between telephone equipment and other communication devices. Okay. The reason I'm looking at this, because if it's a specific tone, we could play with that. If it's a tone that you can hear with your ears, I think it would be kind of cool to like have a specific tone where it's like boop boop boop, and then it goes to ambulance, or like beep boop boop, and then it goes into the fire truck or something, right? And then we can kind of play with it a bit. Autovan keys are one of the few production units to include all 16 DTMF signals. The red keys are the fourth column, produce the A, B, C, and D DTM events. Oh, we in it, boys. All right. Is a telecommunication signaling. We're going to go over Sunday and be like, what did we do Tuesday? And it's going to be like, go down the rabbit hole of computer-aided dispatch and selective calling and DTMF. But that's part of this whole love of it, right? If we want to make a game good, a lot of times we have to seek knowledge that we don't know about, right? Is a telecommunication signaling system used for the voice frequency band over a telephone line, blah, blah, blah. Other communication devices and switching centers. DTMF was first developed. Don't care. It's a standard recommendation. Is also known in the UK as MF4. Touch tone dialing with telephone keypad gradually replaced the use of rotary dials and has become the industry standard in telephony? That's a thing? I guess that's a word. To control automated equipment and signal user intent. Other multi-frequency systems are also used for signaling on trunks in the telephone network. Before the development of DTMF, telephone numbers were dialed by users in a loop connected blah blah blah. It functions by interrupting the current local loop of the telephone exchange and the calling partner's telephone in a precise rate with a switch in the telephone that operated as a rotary dial. The physical distance, placing calls. I'm skipping a lot of this. Placing calls over longer distances required either operator assistance or provision of special subscriber trunk. There's a group of signaling methods that use a mixture of two pure tone, pure sine wave sounds. A sine wave sound is sinusoidal in a periodic wave with waveform shape is trigonomic sine function in mechanics as a linear motion over time. Oh, we're going into math now. Listen, I mean that's just life. Life is math. You need to learn that. You think physicists are smart? Don't fuck with mathematicians. I learned that the hard way. They'll give you an equation of who you are as a person. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to get over multi-frequency signaling is shortened to MF. Various MFers. signaling protocols were devised by the Bell system and CCITT. The earliest of these were in-band signaling between switching centers, where long-distance telephone operators use 16-digit keypad to input the next portion of the destination phone number in order to contact the next downstream long-distance telephone operator. This is semi-automated signaling and switching proved successful in both speed and cost effectiveness based on the prior success of using MF by specialists to establish long-distance telephone calls. Blah, 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 uses a set of 8 audio frequencies transmitted in pairs to present 16 signals, represented by the 10 digits, the letter A to D, and the symbols that and that. Wait, are we describing the phone tone? Like when I dial on my phone where they're like, beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, boop. Is that what we're talking about? Is this the same thing? Am I going down the rabbit hole of figuring out why phone tones have a tone? Phone? As the signals are audible tones in the frequency range, they can be transmitted through electrical repeaters and amplifiers and over radio and microwave links, thus eliminating the need for intermediate operators and long-distance circuits. AT&T described the product as a method of push-button signaling or to prevent consumer telephones from interfering with MF-based routing and switching between telephone and switching centers. DTMF frequencies referred to the pre-existing blah. Well, you're losing me. The term push-button telephone. Other. The. Ooh, here we go. Okay. 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 So I think we are talking about just phone noise. It's the dial noise. Pressing a key sends a combination of row and column frequencies. For example, one key produces a superimposition of Hertz low tone and 1209 Hertz high tone, decoded by the switching centers to determine the keys pressed by the user. Okay. Wait, each one of these are... Is that A, B, C? No. Audio output of the DTMF signal. Okay. I'm basically trying to figure out, is there like a special combination of this sound that is like police and fire truck and ambulance and all the other emergency vehicles, where it's just like, all right, I'm going to connect it over, and then it's like, and then you'll know it. I think it adds a little bit of extra realism to it. Engineers have envisioned telephones being used to access computers and automated response systems. It's led to the addition of the pound sign and Octothorpe? Octothorpe. The hashtag pound sign is called an Octothorpe. I mean, there's 8 little protrudes, I guess. Is known variously in English-speaking regions as the number sign, hash, and pound sign. It's called an Octothorpe. Oh, no. I'm going to remember that. That's going to be a thing that I say at parties. Oh, man. Did you know the hashtag is actually called an Octothorpe? I'm going to be so fun. That's so stupid. Oh no. ABCD in the end. In the end, the letter keys were dropped from most notepads as many years before the two symbol keys became widely used for vertical service codes such as *67, United States, etc. Public payphones. Yeah, we are just straight up talking about how phones communicate with each other. That's what this is where we are. The DTMF is specifically the idea of like, I call someone's phone. It's because it's the combination of tones of their phone number. Present-day use of signals ABCD are rare in telephone networks and are exclusive for network control. For example, A in some networks is cycled through a list of carriers. The symbols used to the radio phone patch and repeater followers blah blah blah. ABCD are still widely used worldwide by amateur radio operators in commercial two-way radio systems for equipment control, repeater control, remote base operations, and some telephone communication systems. So maybe what we could do, what if we, for transfer, add a keypad with A, B, C, and D, right? Because it's still used by some telephone communication system, remote base operations, as well as two-way radio systems, which is what we're talking about. So, do I vaguely remember the radios also having those systems? Like those audio? I feel like they did. DTMF signals tones may also be heard at the start and end of some pre-recorded VHS video cassettes. Information on the master version of the videotape is encoded in the DTMF tones. The encoded tones provide information to automatic duplication machines, such as format, duration, volume levels, in order to replicate the original video as closely as possible. Are used in some caller ID systems. Decoding. Okay. National telephone systems define other tones outside DTMF specification that indicate the status of lines, equipment, and result of calls, and for control of equipment for troubleshooting or services purposes, such as call progress tones, or tones that provide an indication of the status of the telephone call of the user. Multiple frequencies and are standardized in each country. The Bell system defined them in the precise tone plan. Bell's multi-frequency signaling was exploited by blue box devices. Electronic device that produces tones used to generate the in-band signaling tones similar to the phone network to send line status and call number information. I'm thinking maybe what it could be, what if we had like a tone that would play when like the phone was destroyed or something, or disconnected, where it's just like there's this weird tone that you don't really 100% know, but that you now equip that tone combination as like call ended or no longer available. We could also play with it in that there's the tones that pop up and the tones would turn into letters. Like it would be like a translator where it was like beep beep boop beep beep boop, and then it would be like call has been disconnected. I think that'd be kind of cool. All right, so DTMF. We're now taking one step out of the rabbit hole. Yay. Selective calling prevents the user from hearing others on a shared channel. It does not eliminate interference from co-channel users. Other users in the same radio channel. If two users try to talk at the same time, the signal will be affected by the other party using the other channel. Some selective calling systems experience falsing. Falsing is a signaling error condition when a signal decoder detects a valid input through an implied protocol function was not intended. This is known as false decode. Other forms are referred as talk off. In other words, the decoder activates when a valid signal is not present. Falsing may come from a maintenance problem, poor engineering. This part here is the part that kind of flags in my brain, because we want we want a little bit of overlap, but from it kind of sounds like if two users try to talk at the same time, the signal will be affected by the other party using the channel. I don't know if that means that they wouldn't be able to talk at the same time. What I'm going to assume this means is that if two people talk at the same time, then they can't hear each other. But anyone listening could hear both. But you yourself do not get to, like, as you're speaking into the radio, you don't get to hear the radio. You're not an input, you're an output mode kind of mentality. Maybe. Perhaps. Which is also an important factor to put in, right? Because, for instance, if I was a policeman and the town is going to shit, and I am trying to tell them what's going on my end, it would be very distracting. If I was hearing everyone else also talk and have their own problems going on. But that's another thing that we don't think about, that we probably also need to figure out, at least to a certain degree when talking about calling, is how do we want the resources to interact with each other? Shit. We have not gone down that rabbit hole yet. Of how we want them to interact with each other. The most that we've talked about is that as far as the objects on the screen, we want them to phase through. We want them to phase through each other. Well, as far as interaction with each other, I think, like for example, the idea that came into my head is if one of the police officers is off on their way to go to a completely different house, but they hear over the radio you, the player, making a mistake, sending one of the other police officers to their death, would the officer on the way to a completely different location stop what they are doing and then go help that other person? Would they disregard your orders, your guide to help people, to go help a friend, a person that they know and care for? Or would they just go? Maybe they will ask you, the operator. It's like there's something happening. Please, it's like, let me go save them. And then you can tell them, no, keep going. Or yes, go and save them. Right? Where you have to make the call of determining, do you send, maybe that's a way to like send support after making a mistake. Let's put a pin in it. It's like demos to demo, things to keep an eye on. Let's put out all this stuff that we have going on. In the things to keep an eye on one. Accessibility possibilities. And then we have these guys. Make different colors, conditions of the resources, two-way radio the players can hear. Was considered integrated center. Added some lore. Transfer at keypad. We'll do Why do I have beef? Oh, right. Beef. Never mind. And then for these, we'll do, think about how the resources will interact with each other in both good and bad scenarios. Because I'll add a little more flavor as well. Selective calling systems experience falsing. We already read that. In conventional FM two-way radio systems, the most common form of selective calling is CTCSS, which is based in a sub-audible tone. One implementation of the system is by Motorola. It's called Private Line. Radios made by nearly any manufacturer will work acceptably with existing systems using CTSS. What is CTSS? Continuous tone-coded squelch system. God, I hate the word squelch. I don't like that it's being used so much. In one type of in-band signaling that is used to reduce the annoyance of listening to the other users on a shared two-day radio communication, it is sometimes referred as tone squelch. It allows groups of radios to remain muted while other users are talking on the channel. In business and industrial systems, as many as 50 sets of users could share the same channel without having to listen to calls for each other's staffs. In government systems, users can avoid having to hear others outside their own agency. So everyone's on the same channel, but then there's like sub-channels? How does it know who's talking to who? If I'm like, Daryl, how does it know I want to talk to Daryl and not anyone else? In uses where missed calls are allowable, selective calling can also hide the presence of interfering signals. Oh, my brain. My brain. Oh, my brain. This is a lot. Oh. This is a lot. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. My brain is just like, hey, congratulations, you learned a lot. That's enough though. Can we not move forward with it? Oh gosh. Should I take one more step out and we go to the CAD systems? Because it's kind of the direction that we want to at least look. Let's at least try to finish this up. Oh my god. Consoles. Like, this is the main thing that we want to talk about, because this is, CAD is essentially what we're doing. Alright. Let's see if we can get through this. We'll go into selective calling later, where we can go to the intricacies of the radio. Okay. Mason, text messages for call service details in alphanumeric pagers or wireless telephony text services like SMS. Is able to easily view and understand the status of all units. We're not doing texting in ours. Texting is not a thing. Opportunity to handle calls for service. CAD typically consists of a suite of software packages used to initiate public safety calls, centralized public safety call centers, as well as fields utilizing mobile data internets. CAD systems consist of several modules that provide services at multiple levels. Include call input, call dispatching, call status maintenance, event notes, so there is going to be notes, field unit status and tracking, call resolution and disposition, all the things that we were already planning on applying. I'm finding it really funny, all the things that we decided to move forward to add with this system already existed, and it's exactly how it works. It's like reinventing the wheel. It's like, oh, I guess we could have just looked this up, but I didn't know this was a thing. It's not like I thought I was inventing it, but I thought like I was just following the flow of logic without looking it up. CAD system also includes interfaces that permit the software to provide services to dispatchers, call takers, and blah, 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 and use of analog radio and telephone equipment, as well as logger recorder functions. So we have dispatcher, CAD workstation, and a radio remote. And you have a telephone system that goes into it. And then out of it, it's like, cool, now we get to put it to a CAD server. And then the CAD server is selective calling encoder. So it's like, beep, boop, boop, we need this area. And this unit ID decoder, it's like, beep, boop, this person is in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lane. And then fax server and facsimile modem. I don't know that one. That one, you've lost me. And then it makes the modem to the SMS or paging. So it's like, you got a message. Please save this person's life. And it goes radio modem into the radio data terminal or computer, where I guess the computer picks up the radio signals and in their like vehicles. AVL system, AVL background. That one I don't know. I have no idea for AVL. That's something I have no idea. I'm sorry. I can't. Is there a dark mode for Wikipedia that I don't know? Click dark. Oh. I didn't know. Why have I never known that this was a thing? Is this recent? Is this a recent thing? Is this a thing that Wikipedia has always had this whole time? I've used. Oh, thank God. I've used Wikipedia for half my life. Like pretty much half my life. And I have never seen that option. I've looked. Anyway, as I have a crisis in of itself, enjoy the lack of your eyes bleeding as much as I do. All right. Use more servers located in central dispatch office. There are a multitude of programs fundamental to each system. On-off time generating archiving incidents, assigning field personnel, generating case numbers, timestamping every action. In an ideal setting, a call is received by a call taker. Information about the call is inputted into the CAD template. Simply location, reporting party, incident are the main fields. For example, if there is a burglary in progress, the type code for that incident would be burg. When burg is typed out, the program will spell out burglary in progress. If the location is 1400 block medicine, the type code would be 14 mad. The reporting party information would be populated by the call taker, including last name, first name, callback. Typical COD printout with something like this. Call report possible progress based on seeing. So this would be something that you would type in probably. Inside the residence caller advises 2 persons inside. Resident are on vacation. This would be like automatic. You would put in. So we could potentially make it so that it's a code where it's like mimic. It was like, okay, we need to create a unique incident code. And then it's like mimic or like MIM or what was it? IMP, imp for imposter. We can do imp. Granted, I don't know. I haven't broken down the story, the narrative yet, because we want to get the whole game first before we want the narrative. And so I haven't decided of how much I want the emergency vehicles to be on board with the whole situation. Because it's not like the main character's like, guys, they're imposters. they're anyone that you hear could not be who they say they are, and you'll die if you make the mistake. And everyone's just like, yeah, cool, that makes sense. Like, no. No, most people are gonna be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And even when something really bad happens, there's gonna still people who are like, I don't know. Again, granted, as it can be seen in the fields are spelled out, the call taker uses those abbreviations that already quickly gather transmitted information. Sees the call from the call taker, enable the dispatch. Units available. Interesting. Okay, this might actually be something. The dispatcher then receives a call from the call taker and is able to dispatch the call to those available. The dispatcher screen will show the available personnel that is dispatchable, a typical setting that can be exemplified by this. Not available or available. So they have, like, when something happens, they get to see who's available and who's not available, right? And we definitely want, like, we use the arbitrary send to police cars for every mimic situation, but what we want is in a mimic positive situation, we want more resources having to be dedicated to stop that from going forward. That's what we want, regardless of what that number ends up being once we kind of break it down as far as like timing, as far as the amount of resources, as far as the flow, and just fine-tuning that appropriately. Everything that is gathered, dispatched, and disposed is usually stored in central server. Type codes result. All these calls have an incident numbers attached to them. For example, a incident for a printout for calls of a Madison in the past hour would be gathered by querying CAD program location. Can be used a multitude of ways. Okay, that's interesting. We're gonna be switching to a bright. Ooh. Now, is there a dark mode for Excel sheet that I've just been also not thinking about it? CAD. We'll actually add this here as well. We're gonna do, because it, let's see, transfer, add a keypad. It is, let's see, what happens if I do boop? It's fine, it does not matter. Good and bad scenarios. We want, what were we just reading? My brain's shutting down. Excuse me, just sneezed. Give list of what is and is not available. Give list of what, who is and is not available, as well as an automatic incident number applied to each call. Because interestingly enough, if we make it so it's just like one, right? Then it's easily trackable of how long you last in the game is directly proportional to how many incidents did you take care of before you died. So we could even begin the game of like, actually, like we've hit 1501 today. And there you're just like, ooh, 1501, that's pretty fun. And that's like an interaction there, but it's also easily rememberable for people to keep track of how many incidents they actually went through, right? Okay, so consoles, typical of local government dispatching facilities. The Denver RTD's facility, RTD's? What the fuck is RTD's? Is one of the example of a transit dispatch center. Communication Dispatch is used by different communication consoles and GPS AVL system. Left picture is a dispatcher console. The right picture is supervisor's console. At the right is the drawing showing basic controls of the single channel. Interesting. Is one of the example. Communication consoles are mounted on desk-style electronic racks. Features include multi-line telephones. Modern facilities usually include a variety of computing systems for operational and administrative purposes. Consoles serve as a human interface and connect to push-talk dispatch radio systems. Ooh. Oh, so it's like this. With CAD, with the just being like, "Hey yo, Tom." "Hey yo, Tom, you available?" Consoles serve as a human interface. Audio from all channels is processed through audio level compression circuits and is routed to two separate speakers identified as select and unselect. Each has a volume control. The select channel or channels carry the highest priority communications to prevent missed messages on critical channels. The select volume may be configured so blah blah blah. Unselect channels may be used for special events, other agencies, or purposes that do not involve dispatch and may be inaudible. By pressing a button, any channel on the console can be toggled between select and unselect status. Each channel has an independent push to talk for progress. Single button transmits. Additional clock and LED bar VU meter are included. They've lost me on that one. Each channel has a label identifying it and indicator lights and buttons to control the settings. A typical channel has a busy light, a call light, a select button, and a transmit button. The steady red busy light indicates another dispatch position is transmitting on this channel. The flashing yellow light indicates a field unit is talking on this channel. The call light usually blinks for several seconds after transmitting ends, allowing a busy dispatcher to look up from a phone call to determine which channel the last message came from. Some console dispatch channels are actually PC-based application. My brain! Computerized mapping and automatic vehicle location, automatic number identification, and color identification technology are often used to enhance the service by pinpointing the locations of both client and most suitable vehicle for serving the client. I mean, we're going to kind of just briefly review this. I mean, we're already going to have a way to track the emergency personnel. That was something we were always going to do. And then we were going to automatically put in the location of the person who was calling. My brain! CAD systems now store several information. For example, adding automatic vehicle location, blah blah blah. Simplest system to beat the zone map system. For example, in a community of 4 or 5 with 4 fire stations, a grid is overlaid in a community map. Each zone of the grid is identified with a progression of police beats, ambulance zones, transit zones, or fire station. One grid might be labeled AB241. This means the fire stations 2, then 4, then 1, then 3 would respond to a fire call according to inside the zone. The predefined order is created by persons with expertise in the service being provided. Since only basic GIS information is included, blah blah blah. Where detailed geographic data are not available, units may be assigned based on the center of district. To make computer problem easier, CAD system may use centroids to evaluate service vehicle locations. Estimated center points within the zone. We use centroids, blah blah blah. Centroids may be moved because of 200 freight trains often block a railroad. This is the cheapest system to develop because it requires the least detailed geographic information, simplest calculations. CAD using geocoding is a translation system allowing addresses to be converted to an XY coordinate. We don't need that. Latitude, longitude. Again, the system is straight line distance. Type of systems are more expensive than the zone system. Full GIS AVL integration, the most expensive and technically challenging system to utilize the capabilities of geographic information systems. Concentration. CAD systems require support staff with special skills. This can lead to concentration of dispatch facilities, particularly that there is a population growth and where automation is required to meet defined service objectives. In any system, concentration of facilities increases risks of outages and massive failures in a system recall, blah, 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 blah. Data exchange. Public safety standards for under discussion to allow desperate systems to exchange call information. For example, call taker at the county fire department receives a call for an auto accident inside a city limit. Evolving standards will allow CAD systems to send messages to one another for calls originating outside the local jurisdiction. Some of these have arrangements that already support data exchange between systems. As use specific law enforcement community should not be confused. More mature efforts to interconnect CAD. Business use of CAD, the dispatch system may be a module or part of a larger enterprise community system rather than having multiple infrastructures. Being able to have a single infrastructure that many applications running on is important. At the high end of the enterprise integration of CAD, there is SOS, systems of systems. I thought SOS was something different. It's a methodology and set technology for linking distributed independent applications into one metasystem or system systems. Computer-aided call handling is built on the premise that effective call handling is the foundation for efficient dispatch response. By using structured call handling and a series of risk calculations, such systems can make objective dispatch recommendations based on the information provided by the caller. Okay, I got like 60% of that. Oh, I think my brain is numb. It has wrinkled too much. My brain has aged. So I think what we will do is it's definitely a lax game. Maybe Planet Crafter. Let's see. Let's put that. Oop. Why is that black? Why are you? There we go. Let's burn the eyes of people who come in, shall we? Yeah, let's do Planet Crafter. Nothing unwrinkles the brain more than some crafting of planets. Planet Crafter. Planet of Crafters.